The history of Argentina is often depicted as one of European immigration and cultural integration, but beneath this narrative lies a darker, largely untold story of the systematic erasure and genocide of its black population. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, Argentina underwent a process of whitening that aimed to create a predominantly white European society, often at the expense of its black and indigenous populations. This article delves into the true history of the black genocide in Argentina, exploring how policies, social attitudes, and historical events contributed to the erasure of black citizens from the nation's demographic landscape. The presence of Africans in Argentina dates back to the early colonial period when enslaved Africans were brought to the region by Spanish colonizers. Buenos Aires, in particular, became a significant port in the transatlantic slave trade, with a substantial population of Africans and their descendants living in the city. By the late 18th century, it is estimated that around one-third of Buenos Aires' population was of African descent. Enslaved Africans were forced to work in various sectors, including agriculture, domestic service, and urban labor. They played a crucial role in the economic development of the colony, yet their contributions were often overlooked or marginalized in historical narratives. The decline of the black population in Argentina began in earnest during the early 19th century, a period marked by significant political and social upheaval. Two major factors contributed to this decline: the Wars of Independence and the series of epidemics that ravaged the country. Argentina's Wars of Independence from Spain, 1810 to 1818, and subsequent civil wars were devastating for the black population. Enslaved and free black men were often conscripted into the military, serving in disproportionately high numbers. They were placed on the front lines and suffered high casualty rates. This militarization not only decimated the black male population, but also disrupted black communities and family structures. Epidemics of diseases such as yellow fever and cholera swept through Argentina in the 19th century, disproportionately affecting the black population. Living in overcrowded and unsanitary conditions, black Argentines were more vulnerable to these outbreaks. The high mortality rates from these diseases further reduced the black population, contributing to their decline. In addition to wars and epidemics, government policies played a significant role in the systematic erasure of black Argentines. These policies were driven by the ideology of whitening or blanqueamiento, which aimed to transform Argentina into a predominantly white European society. One of the most significant measures was the promotion of European immigration. In the mid-19th century, Argentine leaders such as Juan Bautista Alberti and Domingo Faustino Sarmiento advocated for the mass immigration of Europeans to improve the racial composition of the country. The 1853 Constitution of Argentina explicitly encouraged European immigration, and subsequent laws facilitated the arrival of millions of European immigrants, particularly from Italy and Spain. This influx of Europeans was intended to dilute the presence of non-white populations, including blacks and indigenous peoples. The arrival of millions of European immigrants fundamentally altered the demographic makeup of Argentina, leading to a significant increase in the white population. Another method of erasure was the manipulation of census data. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, racial classifications in the Argentine census were often altered or omitted altogether. The category of black was gradually removed or merged with other categories, making it difficult to trace the true number of black Argentines. Black Argentines were also subject to social marginalization and segregation. Discriminatory practices in housing, employment, and education limited their opportunities and contributed to their social invisibility. The narrative of a white Argentina was reinforced through cultural and social policies that celebrated European heritage while erasing the contributions and presence of black and indigenous peoples. Cultural erasure was another tool used to whiten Argentina. African cultural practices, languages, and traditions were suppressed, and black Argentines were encouraged or forced to assimilate into the dominant European culture. This cultural assimilation further obscured the presence of black communities in Argentina. The media and education systems played significant roles in perpetuating the myth of a homogeneous white Argentina. School curricula emphasized European history and contributions while ignoring or downplaying the presence and contributions of Black and indigenous people. The media often depicted Argentina as a white nation, reinforcing stereotypes and prejudices against non-white populations. By the early 20th century, the combined effects of wars, epidemics, immigration policies, social marginalization, and cultural erasure had led to a dramatic decline in the visible Black population in Argentina. Black communities that once thrived in cities like Buenos Aires were reduced to small, marginalized groups. The narrative of a white Argentina had become dominant, effectively erasing the historical presence of Black Argentines from the collective memory. In recent years, there has been a growing movement to recognize and reclaim the history of Black Argentines. Scholars, activists, and descendants of Black communities are working to uncover and preserve this hidden history. Efforts include historical research, cultural revival, and advocacy for greater visibility and rights for Afro-Argentines. Despite these efforts, challenges remain. The legacy of erasure and marginalization continues to impact Afro-Argentines, who often face discrimination and lack of recognition. The struggle for acknowledgement and inclusion is ongoing, as Argentina grapples with its complex and often painful history of race and identity.